Welcome to How to Monitor and Boost Resilient Self-Talk. So let's start with my darling baby. And she came into the world with pretty empty, I'm not sure you're okay with me saying empty. She doesn't have a lot of thoughts in her head, is what I'm trying to say. A lot of adults will put a lot of messages into her head. So will television, whether she's watching Sesame Street or whether she's watching the news or whether she's watching a movie with her daddy, Terminator, something like that. We want to watch what goes into our darling's head, but we didn't have any control over what went into ours. Somewhere in the unconscious and a little bit of it conscious, we have a sense of what we are telling ourselves. But we can do something about what we tell ourselves. Start with a quotation by William Shakespeare. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So how are you making so what's good and bad in your life? Although good and bad, I'm not sure I like that thought at all, because very much in our lives, things and people and situations, events are not necessarily good or bad. It's more like a rainbow of experiences. I love the phrase bittersweet. Bittersweet. For example, when I go to a funeral, I often just love that we're celebrating somebody's life, and yet it's bittersweet. There's loss and grief involved while we're celebrating. I want you to think about which best describes your experience with internal self-talk. I tend to have positive, supportive self-talk most of the time. 2, I experience a balance of positive and negative self-talk. By the way, hint, hint, don't ever aim for total balance. Even a teeter-totter's very seldom right balanced. Just be okay with the roller coaster of life is what I say, and a roller coaster of thoughts. But we can become aware and better manage them. Number 3, my internal self-talk is mostly negative and critical. Last but not least, I rarely pay attention to my internal self-talk. And for those people that rarely pay attention to their internal self-talk, it's probably coming up in your dialogue with other people, and you're not even noticing it. So this quotation resonated with me by David Taylor Claus. Words matter, and the words that matter most are the ones you say to yourself. And that's what we're going to dive into, the words you say to yourself. In some cultures, and sometimes there's been books written about what's called the monkey mind. It's like a little monkey in there, dancing around. Monkey mind's often used by people who teach meditation. We're going to calm the monkey mind, bring it to calm so that we can observe the thoughts, let go of the ones that we don't want, hang on to the ones that are useful to us. And we're going to do a little bit of that. Out of control often with messages and words that we don't particularly like. We're going to explore how the monkey mind was created. We'll go back to my little darling. She was what I would call a pure emotional system. She listened to her emotions. When she felt discomforted or felt in danger, she had a cry or a sound that she made to alert the adults to come and care for her. And when she was looked after and cared for, nourished, she would have a little giggle and a little smile, a little giggle, a little sound of appreciation, maybe laughter to say how happy and content she was. And then her cry of sadness, her cry of hurt, her cry of anger said, please come and attend to us, way before this monkey mind was created as an adult. All right. Darling represents the inner child, and the inner child, pure emotional system, listening to the emotions, who tell us the emotions, tell us what's important to us when we're feeling either emotional or physical danger. when we're feeling emotional and physical safety and comfort, or joy and pleasure. When we feel sad, the loss that we might experience. So the inner child represents exactly that, the child that was free to feel exactly what she or he or they felt. And then along comes an adapted child, and the adapted child is a term used in inner child work to describe how there's a part of us that develops to protect from the environment, can protect from all the abuses, the verbal, emotional, physical, regrettably sometimes sexual abuse, and neglect, the eye rolling, the shrugging of shoulders, the walking away, the not being attended to. And the adapted child has got only limited information, but adapts behavior steered by the thoughts, oh, if I just stay quiet, then I'll be safe. Oh, if I just figure out how to please mommy, daddy, or a caregiver, then they'll give me what I need. So that we become often people pleasers. So this adapted child, this part of us, is where the monkey mind starts to develop, where we start having thoughts to adapt to a dysfunctional environment. So dysfunctional, what we call dysfunctional thoughts, are created by a dysfunctional, unhealthy environment. And it can be minor nuances all the way to outblown domestic violence happening in the family, where mom and dad are punching one another, throwing dishes, and it is not literally safe for a child to be in that space. So the adopted child retaliate on other people if they feel hurt, withdraw to feel safe, shrug their shoulders, and I don't know. That's a type of withdrawal, by the way. It's confusing often because the person doesn't leave, but they leave connection. Their shoulders droop, their eyes fall, they're not connected, and you hear that, whatever. They're disconnected, they're withdrawn within, almost like a turtle. Comes out. Retaliate on other people if they feel hurt. Withdraw to feel safe, shrug their shoulders, and I don't know. That's a type of withdrawal, by the way. It's confusing often because the person doesn't leave, but they leave connection. Their shoulders droop, their eyes fall, they're not connected, and you hear that, whatever. They're disconnected, they're withdrawn within, almost like a turtle. Reactively comply or resist. Another way to think about the adapted child is that an automatic response gets developed that is a stress response of fighting, fleeing, freezing, or collapsing, which is the same as withdrawal. Actually, all of these are fight, flight, freeze, the stress response of the autonomic nervous system when it does not feel safe. So the wise adult self, that's me, self, you, yourself, can be mindful and be present, have a logical, rational, and bigger picture of life, can stop, think, observe, and choose, notices the past, can imagine the present, possibilities of the future. So I can be in the present moment, I can remember my past, and I can imagine an even better future. The wise adult self accepts what is. I love the serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity, accept what I cannot change, courage to change what I can, wisdom to know the difference. Notice wise adult self and wisdom go together. And maybe you're just developing your wisdom. That's okay. But you want to tap into that wise adult self. And the wise adult self knows that she or he or they have capacity, experience, knowledge, freedom you didn't have as a child, control of your inner world, that is identifying your emotions, knowing what you feel, they tell you everything about you, and being able to choose wisely in a variety of environments what's appropriate to say and to do. You've got options as an adult that you did not have as a child. So you want to, like, stinking thinking might simply be a statement such as, I can't tell you how. I can tell you if I went in my files of my clients, how many clients say that to themselves, I can't, when actually they can, and either their emotional fear, their adaptive child is stopping them from doing that, or they really don't want to. So we want to move into catching all of these dysfunctional thinking patterns, and cognitive behavioral therapy is one of the therapies. There's many books on cognitive behavioral therapy. Also, there's an offshoot of CBT called dialectic cognitive behavior, and it works on being mindful of dysfunctional thinking. And they put them in categories. One of the founders of cognitive behavioral therapy is Albert Ellis, and you can look for books by this gentleman, and he's famous for coining stinking thinking, catastrophizing, and don't should on yourself. Yeah, the shoulds are often barriers. I should do this, I shouldn't do that, and who said you shouldn't, and who said you should? Where's that coming from? Is it I want to, I will, I won't, I'm committed to, or is it I should? In the CBT literature, one of the main dysfunctional thought patterns is all or nothing thinking, black or white thinking. So when we tend to have this pattern, for example, if somebody makes a mistake or hurts you, you're a black and white thinker if you start calling them names and saying that's a bad person. And other people are, oh, they're a good person. Bad person, good person. Well, people are multifaceted. Just, okay, labeling. Often as kids, we get labeled lazy, loser, retard is an old, awful one, and we can end up labeling ourselves as well. It usually starts with you are or I am. In domestic violence, there's a lot of, this also includes name calling. So labeling people in awful words, the B word that rhymes with itch, the ass, and then the, really some very coarse labeling words that are not accurate. Again, we are multifaceted human beings. Catastrophizing, the molehill that becomes the mountain. Don't make a mountain out of a molehill. So this happened, it's what is. And oftentimes tragic events do happen. But for some people, breaking their fingernail or finding some food that's gone wasted in the refrigerator. I've witnessed some pretty interesting catastrophizing. Somebody says no, somebody says you made a mistake, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my job, they're going to fire me. They found a mistake. That's catastrophizing. It's very highly charged and needs to come back to reality, to not be a dysfunctional thought. Emotional reasoning. So somebody goes to a party and they don't feel included. And they feel lonely, they feel neglected. And so they decide that they're not welcome there. In partnerships, somebody may feel, again, neglected, not seen and heard, feeling alone, pushed away, and will conclude, you don't love me. You don't love me. Did you check? Maybe your partner had a hard day at work and is totally preoccupied. It's got nothing to do with you. So emotional reasoning has to do, because I feel a certain way, I make up a reason for it out here, outside me, that I can explain, rather than, oh, honey, I'm feeling neglected, not seen and heard. I feeling alone, pushed away. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You think I'm a loser. I know what you're thinking. Anyway, so just check that one. No, you don't. And should statements. Do your should list. I should. And then go back and look at your should list and ask yourself, where's that coming from? The young woman in Alberta used to take a beautiful Alberta piece of beef, cut it in half, and put it in 2 small pans. And her husband asked her, honey, is there some reason you do that? And she said, well, my mother told me I should. So he went to his mother-in-law and he said, is there some reason? Nice piece of beef, cut it in half and put it in 2 small pans. And his mother-in-law said, well, my mother told me we should. So he went to the grandmother and he said, Granny, is there some reason that my wife and my mother-in-law take a nice piece of Alberta beef, cut it in half, put it in 2 small pans? And her response was, oh my goodness, are they still doing that? I was raising a family during the Depression and we only had 2 small pans. Should often means there was a reason at one point or some time, or somebody had a hang up. I had a mother-in-law who had a hang up about having the breakfast dishes and the kitchen all cleaned up by 9 o'clock. And I remember turning to her and she said, you should have your kitchen cleaned up and tidy. If you were a good housewife and a good wife, you'd have everything tidied up by 9 o'clock. Often shoulds come from generational patterns of what you should do for some odd reason.